Hi, this is Shanker, and today I want to talk about nakshatras, the three nakshatras which are ruled by Venus. And let us see how they are different. Even though the Venus is the ruler, how are they different and how do things change? Now, the three nakshatra which are ruled by Venus are basically Bharani. They are from 13.20 to 26.40 of Aries. That is the point where Bharani Nakshatra is there. Then you have the second part which is ruled by Venus, or the second nakshatra which is ruled by Venus is Purva Phalguni, which is again in Leo, and it is the same degrees, 13.20 degree Leo to 26.40 degrees of Leo. And the third is Purva Ashada. Purva Ashada is again in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, and it is from 13.20 Sagittarius to 26.40 Sagittarius, and this is again ruled by Venus. So there are three nakshatras which are ruled by Venus, which is Bharani, Purva Phalguni, and Purva Ashada. Now let us understand what all the three are ruled by Venus. So what is the difference? So let us understand these three nakshatras in one video which are ruled by Venus. Now Bharani nakshatra basically is a nakshatra which is a fierce nakshatra. It is ruled by Yama, and Yama again is also known as Dharmaraj. And Yama, as if we go into the myth, stories which are there, which basically are not stories, they have to be decoded to understand the meaning of Bharani. Yama had a very had a life where he remained a bachelor. He had a sister known as Yami. He never got married, but he did take care of death, and death means justice. I mean, if you're going to die, you have to have आपका जो लेखा जोखा है जिंदगी का वो बिल्कुल सही होना चाहिए. It was done by Chitragupta on his behalf, but it is by Yam. Yam also is known as the god of death, but as such Yam was a very jovial deity also. So this is what is the character of Bharani. Now Bharani is characterized by the vagina of a female, which is again the inlet, and it also leads to creation. It is through that where the process begins of creation, and that is what Venus is all about. So let us understand Bharani nakshatra therefore. So Bharani nakshatra is a fierce nakshatra. It deals with the god which is again related to Bharani nakshatra is Kali. Kali is the deity of destruction. It symbolizes both the things. It symbolizes construction and it symbolizes destruction. So that is what Kali symbolizes, and that is what all Bharani is all about. Bharani nakshatra is all about going. It's a fierce nakshatra, and it's a nakshatra which is downward looking. So it goes down, it goes deep. It is all about depth. It is all about transformation. So that is what Bharani nakshatra is all about, and that is what Venus is all about. So Venus in Bharani nakshatra, basically, if you remember these three things, it is Yam, it is symbolized by Kali, it's a fierce nakshatra, it looks down. So this is what Bharani nakshatra. Bharani nakshatra therefore produces people who can do scientific inventions, who can go deep into things, who can understand things in a manner which is different. So therefore anything which is ruled by Venus rules the death. So therefore medical gets very closely connected to Venus. Now medical means how one can gain life. It deals with how one can deal with life and how a sick person can be made all right. So anything which is related to doctors, diseases, etc. is again with Bharani nakshatra. So that you have to understand it that way. Anything which is dealt with automobile industry, where it deals with conveyance, it deals with fast movement of things. It deals with camera. It deals with photography. So those kinds of things, these kinds of things are dealt by Bharani Nakshatra. So people who are born with Bharani Nakshatra, having Lord Venus, will have the characteristic of Venus, the basic characteristic, but colored by Bharani, which will be depicted by basically the characters of Yam, Ka and Kali. So these are the two. So it is it and the symbol which is symbolized by the Vijina, which means the starting of things, creation. So Bharani is a nakshatra which is a fierce nakshatra. Fierce, don't get bogged down with the word fierce, or don't get bogged down with the word that it is a downward looking nakshatra. It is a very important nakshatra where a person transforms himself, where a person could do things which is different, where a person would get into places where he will do some inventions, something which is scientific, which would do good to the society. Now, on a personal front, Bharani Nakshatra is a little hard on you, in the sense it is not very good for the personal kartatva of those things. Like if moon is there in Bharani Nakshatra, it may give your mother a troublesome life. So it may be good for things which will give you executive power, which will give you the drive to do things, which could put you in the things which I have told you, but it may not be very good for your, personal kartatva of the planet which is there. Like Venus in Bharani Nakshatra may be good for a lot of things, but it will definitely create some problems with your marriage and married life. So understand these nakshatras of Venus. They are nakshatras of today. They are nakshatras. The Bharani Nakshatra today is an important nakshatra for you to become successful, to become a scientist, to become an engineer, to do transformation in the field of medicines, in the field which governs things beyond death. Those kinds of things, the Bharani Nakshatra becomes very good, and that is what I am trying to explain you. But it may not be good for your personal kartatvas. Now, I will not cover details of everything in Bharani. Just remember three things. One is its symbol is Vijina, which means the start of things. It is depicted by Kali, which is destruction. But I'll come to the third thing. I'll come to the power of destruction. And it also symbolizes what I would say as the power of Shiva. So therefore Bharani Nakshatra becomes very critical. And why Kali is very important, should not be taken Kali, as we see Kali as, god of death. No. Let's understand, for construction, there has to be destruction. Without destruction, there cannot be construction. So in which part of Bharani, which cycle of Bharani, this is a cosmos, consciousness. It's a consciousness which is there all the time. We are a part of a big consciousness which you have to understand. We are all one, connected to each other. The whole world is one, connected to each other. A very big consciousness which has its own rules. So which part of Bharani Nakshatra you are in will determine that you are going to be a part of destruction, and that destruction is going to be a part of a very big creation. So the Bharani Nakshatra is symbolized by the planet Mars and Venus. Venus being the lord of Bharani and Mars. So people who are having Mars and Venus together also to some extent symbolizes creation after destruction. So whenever there is destruction and creation which you have to do, you could be very successful as a person, but it's not a very happy thing to happen with anybody. So this is how you have to understand Bharani Nakshatra. Bharani Nakshatra has got the energies of Lord Shiva in it. All Venus Nakshatras have. It has the energy of Venus, which is Sanjeevani, medicine, which I keep on repeating, which is there. So it is a very powerful nakshatra, having its Lord Venus with these positive qualities and the other negative qualities which I've tried to explain to you. Now let us go to the second part of ownership, which is Purva Phalguni. Now, also when you talk about Bharani Nakshatra, that could be miscellaneous. It is, these people are sexual in nature. It is represented by elephant, and elephants, when they get excited, when they want to have sex, they just want to do it. So it's also not sex as sex, but it denotes passion also. So this is one nakshatra which is a fierce nakshatra, which is a nakshatra which believes in transformation. I've already told you the fields where you can get transformation. Especially I've seen people who are very good in medicines or things beyond death, or things by which we can control death. They're excellent. It is a fierce nakshatra, but it is not a very good nakshatra when it comes to your personal happiness. I mean, depending on the planets which are there in Bharani Nakshatra. Now, when we come to the other part of the nakshatra, which is ruled by Venus, it is the Purva Phalguni Nakshatra. Now, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra again is in Leo and ruled by the same degrees 13.20 to 26.40. Again, this nakshatra, the way I remember it, is that this nakshatra is symbolizes the happening, I mean the time that Shiva is going to Parvati. I mean, it is not the marriage part of it. It is Shiva is going to meet Parvati. He goes with his bandwagon. He goes with his doots, with his yamas, with his people. It is that kind of happening which this particular nakshatra symbolizes. Visualize that one. It also symbolizes, which you also read, the front two parts of a bed, which again shows, leisure. It shows pleasure. It shows comforts. It also is denoted by the god Bhaga. I mean, the deity which owns it is Bhaga, which again symbolizes leisure, pleasure, happiness. But let's understand this nakshatra again in the context of Shiva going to meet Parvati. So it's a nakshatra which symbolizes creation. It symbolizes that if you have to, it symbolizes the process where you are trying to do something which is different, where you would see that Shiva was not very keen in going to marry Parvati, but he was convinced, induced, so he says, okay, if my wife is saying let me go to get her, so it's that whole marriage thing happens, which ends in, ultimately, if you know the whole story, the marriage didn't happen, and it ended in destruction. It also ended in the Tandav, which was done by Shiva. So here again, this whole nakshatra is also symbolized by a Shivling, and Shivling is basically symbolizes a harmony between various forces. The Shivling basically shows that if there has to be in harmony between the two forces, the positive and the negative forces, and without that harmony, I mean, things cannot be maintained. That is what Shivling actually symbolizes, and that is what Shiva symbolizes all about. It symbolizes both the positive and the negative forces. But here, coming back to Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, again, people mistake it as a party nakshatra. Just because Shiva was, going to get Parvati, and the whole that is one part of the nakshatra, one part of the nakshatra, and so people say it's a party nakshatra. or because the bed, the symbolic is also the two front portion of the bed, which again shows a person in a resting position. So again, people say it's a nakshatra which is about leisure and pleasure. No, it is a nakshatra which talks about the highest principle of Gita, which says action with inaction. So such people, again, people who are born in this nakshatra, I have seen that they are the people who believe in fierce actions, who believe in ruthless actions, who believe believe in go-getters. They just do things. They take risks. They want to do things. They just move ahead fast. So, and they're very detached. Internally they're detached. That is what this nakshatra says. Internally you are at the highest form of this nakshatra. Internally you are at full pleasure. You are relaxed, but there is a lot of activity. So, I mean, again, this nakshatra is again a fierce nakshatra. It's a nakshatra which produces the CEOs of today's. It is a nakshatra which produces the best of the negotiators. It is a nakshatra which produces the political people who handle political parties, or who advise political parties, or who run the political parties. It also then produces people again in the research, development, entertainment, and in other industries who actually advise the government and the people. They are the people who actually make politicians, who make billionaires, who are the biggest negotiators in the financial world, who are the people who make things happen. They are the engine of they are the back brain, or the brain who make things happen, who actually, like even in finance, you may have a lot of people who structure the deal, but you have to have negotiators. Without negotiations, you cannot do anything. So these are the people I've seen who are very good at negotiation or negotiating skills. They are, of course, have this attitude that, okay, I'm doing it, let me do it with a fierce attitude. And they are not too much concerned about, what is going to be the end. They know that everything, they have to upset things. Again, the theme is, which was in Bharani nakshatra also, for any construction there has to be destruction. That is what is the Venus theme also. They would upset things. They are basically people who are disruptive. What we call today is, we say that, unless until you do not create disruption, you cannot do. Your whole thinking has to be disruptive. So if you're not disruptive, and if you're not a little fierce, I mean, you don't talk very boldly, you don't talk in a very in a fearful manner, you cannot get things done. So basically, for success, you need to be disruptive and you need to be a little aggressive. So this is what is the characteristics of these people who are born with the Sun and Venus energies. Of course, again, these people are very successful, but as far as things like, because there is Sun and Venus are energies which are always little different in nature, and they always want to create a balance. So that is what is they keep on finding, how to create an internal balance within themselves. The first nakshatra, if you remember, which I talked about, Bharani, was entering into a particular, like trying to do something which is new. Here, when you come to the more higher aspect, the spiritual aspect, here it is more to find a balance, to find a harmony between the various forces which have gone there. That's the spiritual aspect. So there are two aspects of the nakshatra. One is the material aspect, second is the spiritual aspect, and then again the personal aspects are also there, which in all these nakshatras, since the whole concept is construction from destruction, it's different. When they're little different from the they're little unconventional as far as the conventional aspects of things are concerned. So that I'm not dealing with. So this is again a nakshatra which produces the best of the executives, and it is and also where it tries to, on a spiritual plane, tries to balance itself out. Now the third nakshatra which is ruled by Venus is the Purva Ashada Nakshatra. Again, it is between 13 point, the third nakshatra which is ruled by Venus falls in Sagittarius. It is the Purva Ashada Nakshatra. The same degree is 13.20 to 26.40. This again is ruled by Venus, and it has got the Jupiterian aspect into it. Now here again, this nakshatra is again a downward looking nakshatra. It is again interested in disruption, in going deep, and it is interested in change. It is characterized by, let's say, people say it is, I mean, if you read books, it is characterized by a fan. A fan is used to give you comfort. It can also fan fire. It is also used to conceal your face. So, they have a very personality which is very akin to a today's CEO who wants to do something which is good, or today's politicians or today's bureaucrat who wants to do something good, who has the ability to conceal things, what he thinks he can conceal, and if he wants he can spread fire also. They are obstinate people. Such people, if they want to do something, they will do it. It is represented by water. And water, you should understand, has, if you go to the mythological theory, again I repeat, all the mythological stories have to be decoded. They are told in the form of a story, but they have great meaning behind it. So all our religion, all our Vedas, which talk about the stories, people are reading the stories. They sit before the god and they read the story. It is not that. Each story has a meaning. I mean, water in our whole mythology produces good things. It produced Amrit, it produced wealth. So water has the power to create good things, but water also has the power to create poison. I mean, even when the manthan was done, and this manthan is nothing but it is something which is there in the consciousness. You are also a part of the great consciousness. You are a small speck, minor, a very, very small speck, just like, you have trillions of cells inside you, and each cell talks to each other. We are also some mega trillion cells, and each cell is talking to each other with some coding which perhaps I do not understand, and one has to have the grace of the Almighty, of that consciousness to understand it. But this is what it is. It is the manthan of this consciousness which gives you both positive and negative things. And again, this nakshatra also again dealing with the positive and dealing with the negative things. It on the one hand gives you the good things of life. On the other hand, it also gives you the poison of life. It is again a nakshatra which looks downwards, and it is a very, very fierce nakshatra where a person is a go-getter. He wants to churn. As I told you with the fan, he has got the ability to play multiple roles. He can make a thing. He can hide his feelings, and he can even propagate his views, or increase his positivity as well as negativity. So this is again a nakshatra which produces the today's politicians, the today's CEOs. With these, it is important to have all this to be what you are. Now again, on a spiritual plane, Venus here has got the energies of Jupiter. But remember one thing: Venus will only do very well on your spiritual plane if it is backed. Venus will always have Mercury standing behind it. It is only when Venus is backed by a good Mercury that you can develop spiritually. Because all the three nakshatras, now let us understand, this nakshatra as far as sexuality is concerned, it is depicted by monkey. So it's a light-hearted nakshatra as far as your outlook to sexuality is concerned. It's like flirting, it likes going from one place to other, and more playful. So that's your basic characteristic. But that was not the point which I was trying to bring together. Now, after telling you about all the three nakshatras, you would see that all the three nakshatras, Bharani, Purva Phalguni and Purva Ashada, are fierceful nakshatras. They are nakshatras of people who are go-getters. In Bharani, it is more of invention, more of research, development, understanding things which are deeper, transformational. Again, the nakshatra of your Purva Phalguni is a nakshatra which is more about, you call it a party nakshatra, but it's not a party. It's about fierce negotiations. It is more about understanding of things. It is more about understanding how a ruler wants to rule. Advising the ruler. It is more about, what I explained to you. It is the person who drives the scientist, who drives the politician, who drives the businessman, the think tank behind them. It is more about doing that. And then you have the Purva Ashada Nakshatra, which is actually wants with your power. It can actually make you a king. It has got all the powers. It has all the abilities of creating. It has the ability to hide things within it, and it has the ability to propagate things. So, and all the three nakshatras have the energy of Shiva in it. So, the one common theme of Venus nakshatra, which I see at the base level, is the energy of Shiva, which energy is the theme of construction. Can only happen when destruction is there. On one hand, it also has the theme of disruption. It believes in disruption. Today, tell me, can anybody rise today who are rising have to be disruptive in nature? You have to have disruptive thinking, and Venus always has got Mercury at the back of it. Never judge Venus without the Mercury. So Venus has Mercury always behind it. So it talks about disruptive intelligence in talking, in speaking, and its mannerism. It is different and it is fierce. So that is what all the three nakshatras have in common. And I've seen people having planets in these nakshatras are very successful in terms of the material life is concerned, or the disposition towards life to become successful. The nature which they have to become successful is always there. Yes, when you come to the spiritual part of it, you see how a Venus is on a higher plane, and then you have to see in which pad Venus is, what is the sign where Venus is, what Navamsha Venus falls in. You have to see a lot of things, and then also you have to see Mars, Sun and Jupiter, how they are placed. So when you talk about spiritual development, it talks about going deep, understanding things, then going and balancing various aspects which are there. Once you understand, you come to know 10 things. Then how do you balance them in the pyramid? That is important. And the last part of it is taking wisdom. I mean, going towards the source of wisdom and then understanding all the things with Mercury. And then Venus ultimately becomes exalted in pieces, where your buddhi becomes Buddha. Your buddhi will become Buddha. You become a Buddha when Venus exalted. Never think that Venus exaltation will make you, a billionaire, will give you a lot of pleasures. No. Venus has got a material journey and Venus has got a spiritual journey. So all the three nakshatra have, one is your material journey, second is a spiritual journey. You have to understand it. How is it? On the emotional aspect, Bharani is aggressive. Magh is again very quiet but reproductive and sexual. Not Magh. Purva Phalguni is sexual in nature. It has got the thing of reproduction. And your Purva Bhadrapada is more about, it's a light-hearted, flirting kind of a disposition. That is as far as sexuality is concerned, the three nakshatras. But the major theme, again that was the lighter part, the major theme is to understand Venus in the right perspective. Venus, as Shukracharya, governs your Mrit Sanjeevani. It governs, it has been deceived a number of times by all the gods and by Jupiter. So it sharpened all its skills. Venus even gave shelter to the daughter of to an Apsara, which was sent as disguised as a daughter, and disguised as a daughter, and then was able to steal the Sanjeevani and give it to the Devas. So there's a big story. So Venus was deceived, so it has sharpened his skill as in the whole game of deception. So you have to understand Venus as it is. So all the three nakshatras, to conclude, make a person powerful people, fierce people, disruptive people. Now, the sphere where the disruption will happen will depend upon where your Venus is placed. In Bharani, it is more about science and scientific. In Purva Phalguni, I have seen it is more about negotiations. And in Purva Bhadrapada, it's more about executive capability. You can become a Hitler, you can become a, you can become a George Washington. It depends, it depends on how your Venus and other planets are placed. But these are the basic energies of the three nakshatras. And this is how you have to understand Venus. And there is a spiritual path, which I also try to explain. And this is how you have to understand three nakshatras. You cannot blindly, say that all are ruled by Venus. You have to see the first nakshatra, Bharani, has energies of Venus and Mars, Venus and Sun, and Venus and Jupiter. But all three have a common theme also within themselves in their migration towards your material, spiritual and emotional path. So, this is a field which you can talk a lot, but this will help you in your predictive analysis, and I hope you would like this video. Thanks, and bye for now.